People always say you can tell when evil lives in a house. They say the air feels heavy, that shadows move on their own, that nightmares come without warning. They are wrong. Evil does not always announce itself. Sometimes it cooks your food, sometimes it folds your clothes, but smiles at you and calls you my daughter. Mama Grace was like that.
When I married Tond, I believed God had finally smiled on me. The wedding was small but beautiful. Friends danced. Family laughed. And standing quietly beside Tond, smiling like a woman whose prayers had finally been answered, was his mother, Mama Grace. From the very first moment she hugged me, something about her felt comforting. Her arms were warm. Her voice was soft. She smelled faintly of shea butter and incense. She whispered into my ear, "You are my daughter now. I will protect you." At the time, I didn't know how dangerous those words would become. Mama Grace moved in with us shortly after the wedding. She said it was temporary, just to help us settle. She cooked every meal before I woke up. She cleaned the house until it sparkled. She never raised her voice, never complained, never interfered when Tond and I disagreed. If anything, she always took my side. She prayed for me loudly in the mornings and quietly at night. Neighbors admired her. Church members praised her. People often told me I was lucky. I believed them. Months passed. Then a year. Then 2. By then, her presence felt permanent. Still, I never complained. Tond loved having his mother around, and I didn't want to be the wife who caused trouble. Besides, Mama Grace was kind. Or so I thought. The first strange thing was how little she slept. I would wake up at night to drink water or use the bathroom and see light under her door. Sometimes I heard whispering. I assumed she was praying. She always said elders prayed best at night. But her whispers were fast, urgent, and sharp, not calm like prayer. When I asked her once if she ever slept, she smiled and said, "Sleep is for those whose work is finished." I laughed then. I stopped laughing when the rule came. It happened on an ordinary evening. No argument. No tension. Mama Grace simply called me aside and said that on every full moon, I must sleep in her room. She said it gently, as if she were asking me to pass her salt. I laughed, thinking she was joking. She didn't smile. Her eyes stayed fixed on mine, unblinking. She explained that it was an old family tradition meant to protect the first wife. She said the moon opened spiritual doors and that women were vulnerable on those nights. When I asked Tond, he didn't even hesitate. He said it was tradition and that I should respect it. He reminded me how much his mother had done for us. I didn't want to seem disrespectful. I didn't want to look stubborn. I didn't want to be the new wife who questioned everything. So I agreed. Every full moon, I took my mat and blanket and slept on the floor of Mama Grace's room while she slept comfortably on the bed. She always insisted I lie close to her bed, close enough that she could reach me if she wanted. At first, nothing happened. Or at least, nothing I could see. But slowly, changes crept in. I became tired all the time. I started forgetting things. My dreams stopped. Not nightmares. Just emptiness. When I looked into the mirror, my face felt unfamiliar, like I was watching someone else wear my skin. At the same time, Mama Grace began to look younger. Her skin smoothed. Her steps became lighter. People noticed and joked that she was aging backwards. She laughed and said it was God's grace. By the 4th full moon, something in me refused to sleep. That night, I pretended to sleep but kept my eyes slightly open. Mama Grace sat upright on her bed and began whispering. Not praying. Chanting. The words didn't flow like language. They sounded heavy, like stones dropping into water. Then she stood and walked to a wooden box in the corner of the room. I had seen that box before. She never let anyone touch it. She opened it. Inside was a red cloth. She unfolded it carefully. Inside the cloth was hair, tied into 7 tight knots, threaded with thin white strands. My heart began to race so hard I thought she would hear it. She knelt beside me and placed the hair near my head. I could smell herbs, oil, something bitter and old. She whispered that only 1 more month was needed, that the transfer was almost complete. Transfer. That word echoed in my mind like a drum. When she finally slept, I waited until my body stopped shaking. Then I carefully took the cloth, took a photo, and returned everything exactly as I found it. The next morning, I called my aunt, Auntie Neka. She had warned me before my wedding to pray and stay alert, advice I had ignored. When she saw the photo, her voice changed. She told me it was a binding ritual. She said Mama Grace was trying to transfer something into me, sickness, misfortune, or her own remaining life. She told me Mama Grace had likely done it before. That was when I learned the truth. 3 women had married into that family before me. None of them survived. 1 died in a strange accident. 1 lost her mind. 1 wasted away with unexplained illness. Each death had been blamed on fate. On bad luck. On God's will. I nearly dropped my phone. My aunt begged me to leave immediately. But I knew Ton would never believe me without proof. So I stayed. That night, I told Mama Grace I felt sick and asked to skip sleeping in her room. She smiled gently and said I must come. She said it was for my own good. Her words sounded sweet, but something dark moved behind her eyes. I hid my phone under my mat and set it to record. Around midnight, she rose from her bed. She knelt beside me and began chanting clearly this time. She spoke of exchanging blood and breath. Of taking my youth and strength. Of leaving me trapped in her old body while she lived again through mine. Her hand touched my forehead. It was cold. Not cool. Cold, like stone left outside at night. She said that by the next full moon, she would walk in my body. I screamed. I ran to my room, locked the door, and woke Ton. Crying, shaking, I played him the recording. At first, he denied it. He said I misunderstood. That his mother would never do such a thing. Then Mama Grace began pounding on the door, screaming that I was lying. Her sweet voice was gone. What remained was raw, desperate, angry. When Ton opened the door, Mama Grace stood there smiling. But her eyes were empty. 2 days later, she disappeared. We never saw her again. But that wasn't the end. 2 days after she left, I woke up with pain in my chest. My hair began falling out in clumps. At exactly midnight every night, I heard her voice whisper in my head, telling me I should have stayed asleep. I knew the ritual had begun but was unfinished. That was when I turned fully to God. I fasted. I prayed. I cried until my body ached. I anointed myself with oil. I played worship music day and night. I called my church. I called prayer warriors. I refused to sleep on full moon nights. One night, during intense prayer, something broke. I felt heat rush through my body. I vomited violently. I collapsed. In my dream, I saw chains snapping and fire consuming the red cloth. When I woke up, the pain was gone. My hair stopped falling out. The whispers stopped. That same morning, we received a call. Mama Grace had been found in an abandoned house, weak and dying. Before she died, she confessed everything. She said fear of death drove her. She said the moon promised her life. She begged God for forgiveness. She died before sunrise. Peace returned to our home. I was free. And I learned a truth I will never forget: not every smile is love, not every prayer is from God, and no darkness survives a woman who knows how to pray. Tradition should never replace wisdom. Just because something is called a tradition does not mean it is right. Any custom that harms, controls, or silences someone must be questioned. Blind obedience can be dangerous. Respect does not mean surrendering your safety, your voice, or your